Good afternoon to you all. I'm Adama, Head of Partnerships in Africa's Google Next Billion User Initiative and Director of Moja Loop Foundation. I hope everyone and their families are safe wherever you are. I'm looking forward to that time where we can all be together again. I would like to start with the saying that I'm sure most of you have heard about. If you educate a man, you educate an individual. But if you educate a woman, you educate a nation. In social programs, it's also referred to as the woman ripple effect. As Africans, we can all relate to this. I went to a public school in Guinea, where I am from, and I recall the woman outside of the school selling fried plantains, sweet potatoes, and snacks to fund their kids' school supplies. Their kids would go to school with us and help their parents. Often moms ran their micro-enterprises at the breaks. We see this across the continent with the mama vendors in Ghana, the market women all over Africa. Despite many of them not having been to school, with limited mobility and no formal sources of credit, and as we all know, with overwhelming domestic responsibilities, women in emerging markets hustle. They have set up successful businesses tapping into whatever economic and personal opportunities they can leverage, including informal loan clubs like the Osusus in West Africa, and even here in Asia, in Pakistan, the Doris, and most recently, having to navigate new technologies like phones to run their businesses. Let's face it, the conventional banking system and the current infrastructure of digital financial services do not cater to the needs of low-income educated women in patriarchal and sometimes traditional societies wanting to hold women back. The potential impact of including these women in the financial system and uplifting outcomes for them, their families, and their communities is what motivates me to be involved in this space on a personal level. If we empower more women, we can extend the ripple effect to more than 1 billion people who are still excluded in the financial system. We can make waves in reshaping the global financial landscape. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of this, but the Global Findex report says that there are 1.7 billion unbanked people globally. And do you know how many of them are women? 800 million. There is a lot that needs to be done to bridge that gap to financial inclusion. How does this apply to what we want to achieve in Africa in the next billion user team? To put things into perspective, there is 1.2 billion people in India. That's one country. Africa also has 1.2 billion people, but with 54 countries. Both are in need of empowerment and inclusion that requires multiple players across ecosystems functioning effectively. Recently, India created their pathways to economic resiliency by modernizing their payment infrastructure under one unifying system. But in Africa's context of a fragmented framework, lots of opportunities are missed. On our end at Google, our long-standing practice, as you all know, has been to provide open source platforms where we can build and support ecosystems. Our goal is to help create solutions that addresses pressing needs such as building frameworks for financial inclusion. With that in mind, I want to present you an idea that interoperable digital financial services can pave the way to financial inclusion for economies like Africa, where millions of people live without access to basic financial services, trapping them in cycles of poverty. We've seen how digital financial services can help bridge the gap to financial inclusion. We all agree on that. Mobile wallets have made cashless transactions easier all over Africa. But there are still two barriers that we see in a lot of economies, including Africa. The first one is the lack of interoperability with mainstream financial providers such as banks, microfinance institutions, credit unions, which keep customers in silo and put a limit on potential transactions in the ecosystem, as well as revenue. Second, it's the expense of building out proprietary networks and systems, which means providers often end up charging high transaction fees or not building anything for developing markets at all. This disconnect is where inherent cost of the financial system exists, which leads to excluding the bottom of the pyramid and those women that I was referring to at the beginning. The Africa situation is a compelling challenge that we believe Moja Loop can offer a solution to if adopted widely by more countries, system integrators, aggregators, and the private sector. In May 2020, Google joined the Moja Loop Foundation as a sponsor member, along with other organizations. As a charitable nonprofit, our vision is for universal financial inclusion. We would like to empower organizations who create interoperable payment systems to enable digital financial services for all, to connect everyone to the global economy. The foundation offers an open source software called Moja Loop that gives the industry a way past both the barriers I mentioned earlier. It was designed with financial inclusion at its core, funded on inclusion principles and well-defined international financial inclusion standards that focus on expanding safe, affordable digital financial access to all. Using the Moja Loop platforms would allow countries and even huge regions like Africa to be more involved in building the backbone of the technology source code to create their national rails, influence the platform strategy, and leverage efficiencies of the local and international development community, respond rapidly to security fixes, and leverage the local tech communities to build what is truly meaningful and relevant for their countries. I see it as bringing a unique opportunities for African tech startups and developers to take part in building and shaping the payment system of tomorrow for the continent. They can also help innovate for Africa and beyond. For example, if one country adds an innovative new feature, it would be relatively easy if it's sent back into the community for another country to leverage it and use it as well. With many countries contributing to and using the same system, the benefits of the platform can be scaled and benefit everyone. Governments could collectively save billions annually, closer to $1 billion annually, by reducing leakage in public expenditures, tax revenues, and that money could be repurposed toward public investments in critical areas such as education, infrastructure, and healthcare. Interoperability is the key to inclusive payment models. In fact, the entire ecosystem benefits from it. Let's think of it this way. Suppose there is a system that assists in routing payments directly from sender to recipient. Because Moja Loop is an open source and interoperable, everyone can build something amazing on top of it. Governments could use it to deliver support payment to citizens right into their wallets. Local developers could focus on innovating rather than spending time and their limited resources for multiple connections to different types of financial institutions. And like some things like building out business-to-business payroll processing systems that would allow companies to pay semi-formal employees directly into their mobile wallets. Did you know that out of the 2 billion workers in informal employment worldwide, over 700 million of them are women? Let's consider the impact of women employees receiving their salaries straight into their mobile wallets. Customers don't need to pay significant fees to send money to their relatives in rural areas, even if those people were using credit unions or microfinance institutions. It could empower anyone, any unbanked woman with a mobile phone to receive a salary, send money to other wallets, buy things, and pay for things such as their kids' school fees, pay bills, and receive their salaries and more. But more importantly, it can help the underserved woman to become economically active and reach a wider set of customers. Then it opens up opportunities for the woman ripple effect that I spoke about earlier to take place and make its impact. We need to create pathways for women to be empowered financially. Everything that I have shared with you so far makes paving that way much easier as barriers to connect women to the financial systems are lowered and opportunities for inclusion are raised. That's why I'm very honored to be here in the Women in FinTech Hackathon and Summit hosted by Hippopo. Its Include Everyone program continues to lead the way in advocating for the creation and dissemination of technology that enables financial inclusivity. With Hippopo's initiatives, we should champion the empowerment of women through innovation. Congratulations and thank you, Hippopo, for all that you do to enable women to be key players in nation building. In conclusion, Google's commitment is to bring inclusive access to information and economic opportunity for the next billion users coming online. It is our hope that as we mobilize the resources and provide an open source platform for financial inclusion, the women of Africa and everyone else would be closer to experiencing financial inclusion and economic empowerment. Thank you and good day to all.